Without further ado, I want to bring Gene forward, and Gene to make the first presentation.
Thank you, Lisa. And it should have added my biography that I get to be an advisor at times to Lisa as well, which is one of the real honors I have. And I'm going to cheat a tiny bit here. I'm going to take 2 seconds. I probably shouldn't do this, but Pamela didn't get a chance to answer some stuff in the last panel. I'm going to literally take 15 seconds to say 2 things. One was the issue about removal of reporting requirements. We're not removing all reporting requirements. People are still going to get their statements on that type of plan that would go to the IRS, would go to the individuals about the amount of their benefits. So I want to clarify, it was not a removal of all reporting requirements. There was also an issue raised about whether we were going to give a lot more money to higher income people. We stated our plan in a relative sense. That is, we were going to have higher relative caps for people who moved into the super simple. We weren't necessarily providing higher money overall. The goal of the plan was to provide coverage, particularly at moderate income levels. So I just want to be clear about that. So now I'll turn to this session. And this one is at least in terms of the plan I'm putting forward, is a much more narrow focus, and it's how we can actually provide basically annuitization or longevity types of coverage for individuals. And one thing that's come up several times, several commentators have made the comment, is that in some sense, Social Security is still the main engine by which we provide not only coverage and adequacy to people, but it's actually also the main way by which we provide longevity insurance. And in point of fact, Social Security already has an option for annuitization that's a powerful option. But most people don't think of it that way. Most people do not think of Social Security as providing them the option to buy a higher annuity. Because when people delay their retirement, I should say when they delay receipt of the retirement benefit, they automatically get an annuity subsidization that is roughly of the following order. For every $1,000 of Social Security benefit that's deferred, they get about $80 extra every year thereafter, indexed for inflation. It's not quite the same as $80, but in most years it's pretty close to that, if not exactly that. It's a good deal. Steve Goss will show you some numbers. I think about actuarially neutral at about a 2.9% interest rate, real interest rate. It's a very good deal. It's got longevity protection. It's got inflation protection. And if you think about it, the average couple goes into retirement with about $600,000 of Social Security benefits. If you delay those benefits and receive them for 15 years or 17 years instead of 25 years, you've actually provided a huge increase in your annuitization protection. But most people don't think of it that way. And one reason they don't think of it that way is because they think in Social Security that 3 decisions are all simultaneous. The decision to retire, the decision to receive Social Security, and the decision to buy a higher annuity. And yet they're all, it's easy to explain to this audience, it's very hard to explain to the general public. They're all 3 separable decisions because you can retire but not get your Social Security benefit. In fact, you can at times, particularly after the full retirement age of 66 now, you can actually not retire and get your Social Security benefit. So those are separable decisions. And the decision as to getting a higher annuity now works off these very crude formulas. And I'll give you the simpler one. At the full retirement age of 66, soon to be 67, you could opt to get your benefit from Social Security and then decide I'm going to cancel it, and then opt to get it again, and then cancel it. You could effectively give yourself a partial retirement benefit of 30% or 50% or 70% just by constantly doing that. Social Security doesn't want you to do it. It would be an administrative nightmare. So you think, I'm going to apply for my benefit or I'm not. Why not, since this is already an option in current law, why not let people take partial retirement, particularly at the full retirement age? It's in the law, and they could effectively get a higher annuity. But not just that, if they can do it that way, why does it have to be only on the basis of buying the annuity on exactly deferring this exact Social Security benefit? Why not make it simpler? Why not let them put some money up front? And you could limit it if you want to the same amount of money that's already eligible to be deferred. And then if you could do it up front, a financial planner could sit down with you and say, hey, you know what, we got this $300,000 in your 401k. Let's take $100,000 of it and basically just buy a higher Social Security annuity. We'll put the $100,000 in now. Go ahead and take your Social Security check. The individual and the planner could work this out in ways that would really vastly increase their opportunity by annuities. Now, what would this do to the private annuity market? For those of you who are interested in that, I think actually if we got people playing this game, the private annuity market would be even stronger because they would come in with additional features. They don't have to view it as a competitor, just the way that you see a lot of restaurant districts do better because 2 restaurants move into the district instead of 1. So the option's already there at full retirement age. Now, there's a complication. Before the full retirement age, and this gets into the weeds in Social Security, we have something called an earnings test. In Social Security, if you decide you're going to get your Social Security benefit or you want part of your benefit, between 62 and 66, or between the early and the normal retirement age, Social Security forces you to buy an exact amount of annuity depending on the amount of earnings you have. Now, you can not take your Social Security benefit, but once you take it, the amount of annuity you buy is forced by this very rigid formula. Not as a rigid formula, but most people think of this earnings test, which claws back your Social Security benefit if you earn above, what is it, about 12, 13, what is it now today? About 14,000. It claws back your Social Security benefit and then takes that benefit and buys an annuity with it. Most people don't think of it that way. They think if I earn more than $14,000, Social Security is taking the money away from me. It's a tax. So people don't realize that this forced annuitization provision on a very strict formula is not a tax at all. So it discourages people actually from working longer. So the proposal that I've put forward here is to make the annuity option more distinct. Let people choose partial retirement. Certainly after 66, they should be allowed to do it. There's a debate. There is a debate. Some people really believe in the earnings test. I don't. You could keep it. If you keep it, then it's more complicated before 66, but you could still offer people options. So we could do it with or without the earnings test. Although, again, I think the earnings test and the way it's explained to people and the way they understand it really discourages work when we need the incentives of the older workers. And also, I'd like to allow people to be able to buy this annuity, which is available now, but go ahead and plan up front. If they could put up the exact amount of money, know what the annuity is, a planner could help them create a level stream of income out of their 401k and their annuity. There's not too different of a plan that's actually Lisa's group at the Aspen Institute have put forward, where they basically say, well, why don't we let people put $100,000 into buying an additional Social Security annuity as well. Now, I've got 2 glitches here. One of them already mentioned is the earnings test and whether you want to deal with the earnings test or not. I personally would actually try to simplify it, just say, here's your earliest retirement age, and here's the annuity you can buy afterwards. And I would actually try to have the Social Security administrators understand much better, explain to people much better that they could really give themselves a lot greater protection in retirement if they would defer getting some of this benefit. I just recently helped somebody apply for a benefit, and the administrator that we dealt with totally didn't understand what we were applying for and tried to encourage her to take a benefit that she shouldn't have had. The second possible complication is if I'm actually right and this works and people do buy into this existing Social Security option, if they actually bought into it, does that actually raise costs because maybe enough people buy into this and ends up to be a good deal? Well, to me, that's simply solved. We could give the actuaries some power to amend slightly whatever the actuarial adjustment is, so it still stays actuarially neutral if you're worried about the cost factor. And if you want to bear the cost, that's fine. If you don't, it seems to me that's really a non-issue. So I'll finish there, and my time's up. Go on.